Matthew here from miniwargaming.com, and it's time for another Sit and Talk. This is a show where you ask me anything about anything related to wargaming, business, politics, or even religion. So if you're easily offended by any of those subjects, particularly wargaming, haha, that's a joke I make so many times. Some of you people who watch the show all the time must be so tired of hearing the same thing at the beginning. But I got to do it because there's always new people watching the show. But actually, in all seriousness, if you are easily offended by anything about religion, then I would suggest you don't watch this because it does come up if people ask me the question, and I will answer them. But usually it's more about wargaming and business-related stuff, and just sometimes goofy things as well. If you want your question or comment answered, make sure you leave it in the comments below, unless you are watching this on YouTube, in which case there will be a link in the video description that you should click on to go and watch on our site and leave a comment there. It's just easier for me to print off. And while you're there, make sure you thumb up any comments that you want to see. Don't thumb down the comments you don't want to see, just thumb up the ones you do want to see. And then what I do is I take the top 10 comments, and then I just take random comments after that. Comment number 1 from Linicratio. I'll post this from the YouTube comments, he says. Have you read about the recent, within October, issues with Blue Table Painting? I refer to the guy that gave them 9,000 points of Chaos Dwarves, Forge World plus his own conversions, and they actually botched it. This was not a minor thing. It was probably one of the biggest projects they have ever had, with a unique army, and apart from telling the guy 8 weeks turnaround and ending up 15 to 16, they also didn't do the work at level 4 to 6 like he asked. And then he continued to talk about how it's all over YouTube and worse here. And all that. And the end says, best keep that in mind before endorsing them. Your channel is hugely popular and your Rico is very influential. So, yeah, ... Yes, I did hear about that. And it's very unfortunate that such a big job would turn out to be a negative experience. And by the way, it's not one of their biggest jobs. They've done bigger jobs than that as well. It's interesting because I sent out an email to Vault members basically saying I'm trying to compile some testimonials for Blue Table Painting because I'm doing a video to promote them. And it met with some obvious negativity. I think I could have almost inserted any company there and that would have happened. But Blue Table Painting has been around a long time and they've done a lot of projects. I was talking to Sean and he said, and this is information I can share because I think I'll be sharing it in the video, he's nearing 8,000 projects that he's done for clients. And the majority of them, people are happy with. Now, when you do that many projects, you're going to have some negative experiences because he works with, basically the way Blue Table Painting works is he has a ton of painters that work for him. And there's going to be regular turnover of that, so there's going to be new painters coming in all the time and old ones leaving because it's not like they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in it, so they're going to be, you know, it's just kind of this normal transient kind of thing. So what that leads to is sometimes it might not work out. There will be a project that comes and that doesn't do as well. Now the Chaos Dwarves one, I kind of watched the video, I kind of read it, and I really don't have much comment on that one in particular. I know a lot of people are saying it's a big one, so really should affect whether you do an endorsement. But the thing is, they've done a lot of jobs for us, and I've been happy with all of them. On top of that, I've seen their business kind of from inside, and so I know how it works, and you can totally trust them. They're going to occasionally botch up a job, or what might also happen is that customers' expectations might be higher than what they actually expect. Because Blue Table Painting is not going to paint every miniature to a Golden Demon level. And even when you talk about these different levels, there's no industry standard, so you have to kind of go by what their levels are. I'm not defending them in the case of this Chaos Dwarves thing. Maybe there was bad things that happened there. Maybe they should have handled it better. Maybe they should have given a full refund. Whatever. It's not that one in particular I'm talking about. All I'm saying is that when you do that many projects, there are going to be some that don't turn out or some where the customer is not satisfied. And unfortunately, the internet is the perfect breeding ground for the negativity, where somebody will post a story like that and then get tons of comments. Like I was actually kind of skimming through the comments, and most of the people replying weren't saying, yeah, I had a bad experience too. They're saying, oh, that sucks. I was thinking of using them, now I won't. And a lot of people who replied to me when I asked for positive comments that were saying, don't do it, Blue Table Painting is not good, didn't have any personal experiences. They were just basing it off of hearing one or two other things. Now, mind you, you hear some negative experiences about a company that might make you decide not to do it. But me personally, having dealt with them personally and seeing a ton of their clients, like actually knowing a lot of their clients too, and how happy they are to just come and slap down a big amount of money and say, here, paint up this army and give them a lot of control over it because they trust them. And seeing the success rate they have with it allows me to be able to say wholeheartedly that I endorse them. And in the end, I've even had some people that were concerned. They're saying, if you endorse them, it might really hurt your business because they had all this negativity. But realize that the internet creates a weird perception of reality that often what you're hearing is a very loud minority. And I honestly think that I won't even notice that there's going to be a handful of people that will cancel their Vault memberships. There's going to be a handful of people that will unsubscribe. But you know what? We put up a bad battle report, and that happens. People are like, oh, you got too many rules wrong, canceling my Vault membership. Or if we don't put up enough of a certain type of battle report or cover enough of a certain game, people will cancel. So people have all sorts of reasons for canceling their Vault memberships or for unsubscribing from our YouTube channel. And so that's just always going to happen. Almost every video will produce some reasons, and hopefully they'll also produce more people who will be happy with it than those who are unhappy, because that's kind of the whole point, right? And when you start to have a lot of customers, you will also have more dissatisfied customers, just because it's just a proportion thing. And so unfortunately, because people look at it from the outside, they can't see the percentage of happy ones, because a lot of those happy customers aren't on DakaDaka or on Warseer, and they're not jumping on there to defend them because they're just off living their life. They're not perusing these forums, and they're just continuing to use blue table paintings for their commissions. Most of their clients that come back are return customers that keep coming back over and over again and are very happy with them. And typically their turnaround is really good. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Yes, I'm still going to put up the video because, well, it's part of the Painting Partner Program. They did work for us. They've earned the credit. And in this case, I am more than happy to endorse them. Now, I realize some people are going to reply, and you're going to have reasons why I shouldn't. You're going to have reasons why you disagree with what I say, and that's perfectly fine. And some people will say, well, you have a lot of sway, and so you can't just use the small experiences you have. But sure, I can. I do it all the time. We talk about products that we like. We talk about companies that we like. And some other people might have had negative experiences with those companies. But for us, we're just going to give you, from our point of view, the way it looks. And that's just the way we run our company. So that is that. Mr. Magic Marmite. Hey, Matt, are we going to get an explanation of what the Necrons were doing there on Snagabog's Greed? Also, possibly a continuation of the character of Sendini. I found his character really great. Thanks. VMFALAFA. Vault member for as long as finances allow. It's honest. Yeah, that's totally awesome. I love that. I love the VMFL thing that's come up, the whole Vault member for life. I love that, but some part of me actually almost likes that more because it's like, it's VM Falafa. It almost sounds like falafel, so that makes it even better. Now, back to your question that I'm totally overlooking because I got totally sidetracked by that acronym. I don't know. I guess I can kind of tell you what they were doing there, and it didn't get worked in the way I wanted it to. Basically, those Necrons were there, and it was going to get worked into the campaign with Overlord Kanum, where he's just kind of going around and doing some stuff. It was more an idea that they were kind of inserted there, and it didn't really come to fruition. So we don't plan all these campaigns ahead of time. We kind of just put stuff in, and we're like, well, maybe we can use that in a future campaign. Kind of like true game mastering style, where you do a role-playing game with your group, and you kind of have it develop according to what happens, and sometimes things kind of work out, sometimes they don't. And like if we had planned all these campaigns ahead of time, we could make them more intricate, but at the same time, I've learned that I can barely plan the campaign that I'm in ahead of time because who knows what's going to happen in the battle reports. So yeah, Captain Sandini, are we going to see more of him? Maybe in the future. No plans. Basically, so you know how far ahead we plan for our campaigns. Dave is currently writing his next campaign, which he'll be doing after the Utgard Infestation. Dave's going to do one because my wife is due in like 3 weeks, and so obviously I'm not going to be around to do the next one. And then I plan on doing the next one after that, and I'm most likely, although I can't say this for sure because I can't commit to anything until it's actually happening, is that I'm going to include Tau. That Tau are going to be one of the main characters in it. I'm not sure if they'll be the good guy, the bad guy, neutral, or whatever it happens to be, but I want to include the Tau. So that's what I'm thinking. Necronomicon. Hey Matt, have you ever considered having Chris paint some high quality pieces to enter in competitions? It occurs to me that it would be a great draw for new Vault members if you could tell people that they would be getting tips from an award-winning painter. That's an interesting idea to give them the credentials. In that case, Golden Demon winner Chris in the Mini Wargaming Vault. That does sound kind of cool. Unless you actually know how easy it is to get a Golden Demon. Because I remember going to the Canadian one. Actually, no, not even the Canadian one. It was the one in Chicago. And I went in there. Yeah, just 2 years ago, we went to the games day there. And we went to the Golden Demon Lounge. And most of the categories only had a handful of entries. And so if you pick the right category, you're almost guaranteed to win an award of some sort, whether it's bronze, silver, or gold. The Slayer Sword, now that one's a little better because you have to be the best of the entire show. But yeah, it's the gold. I'm semi-impressed when I hear somebody say Golden Demon winner, and I still say to Golden Demon level just kind of as an anecdotal way of saying, you know, it's really well painted. But in the end, now that I've seen it more from the inside, I'm not as impressed when I hear that somebody's won a Golden Demon. I'm still impressed because they have to have painted to a certain level. And it's obviously better than me, just because, well, that's not very hard. But yeah, so it's an interesting idea. I don't know if we would do that though, if we didn't need those credentials. So, and I don't want Chris to think that he's too important, because then he might demand more. Yeah. Yeah. So we just have to kind of keep, you know, cracking the whip, saying, you know, you're not doing enough. Yeah. You're not worth the space you're taking up. And that way he's like, sorry, sir, and he works harder. Because that's the way it works, right? That's how you motivate employees, right? Right? Worked well. I wasn't asking for your opinion.
No, I know.
Jeez, stay quiet. It's like they worked in the Industrial Revolution, right? So why not now? It actually, in all honesty, though, it is a cool idea. It's not a bad idea. Just to have that extra credential there, because it does add not just I guess you didn't even mention Golden Demon. You just said into competitions. So I guess we could just make a competition. We could enter him into it, and we could make him win. Then we could say he's an award-winning painter. I could just give him an award. I don't have to have a competition. Here, Chris, is the award for best-looking guy in the office.
There it is.
Whoa. What? Now I offended Steve. Sorry, Steve. But, well, in his age category. So. Oh, I could get into all sorts of trouble for that comment. I meant from the 30 to 40s. Hey, I'm in that category, so I just knocked myself and Ash. And I don't know how. Actually, most of us are in our 30 to 40s now. All of us are, aren't we? Wow, that's weird. Wow, Mini Wargaming is a bunch of old guys. I remember when we started, it was all 20-something-year-olds, and now we're all old. What are we going to look like in 20 years? That's just going to be weird. Dave and I will be like in our 50s. I just have a hard time. I guess Sean is old, and he still does his blue table painting. He's still a character on camera and all that, so I guess, yeah, it could totally make sense. I don't think Sean's in his 50s, though. I don't know how old he is. I'm just digging deeper and deeper here. So I'm just going to move on. Next comment. Woo! Ageism. Taryn Main. I can just edit that out so I can't get sued. Taryn Main. Hey, Matt. First, a little Eldar joke I came up with. How many Eldar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. We use our Eldar trickery to do it for us. Hardy har har. You must be a dad to be telling those kind of jokes. Now my question. I know you dislike Dark Eldar, and I totally agree. Oh man, nasty fluff. But would you ever consider an Eldar campaign with Dark Eldar Corsair armies, in other words, raiders and normal Kabbalite troops, and use the Dark Eldar Codex, but treat them more like pirate-style Eldar units? I don't know. Who knows what the future will hold? Right now I have no interest, but maybe if it gets pitched in the right way and used in the right way, or Games Workshop retcons their codex in a certain way, maybe I'll like them more, but I don't know. Thanks, Matt. Hoping to come from BC to play a game with you guys in the next year. Super excited. Role-playing gamer. And by the way, I'm a little stuffy today. I'm not sure if I have a cold. I think it's because they're currently doing renovations in our house. They're replacing our floor in the kitchen. Much needed. The tiles were all broken since we moved in, and there was a lot of dust kicked up. So I think it's I still have like slight allergies, so that's a lot of dust, and we were doing a lot of cleaning yesterday. So if I sound stuffed up, and I have to keep drinking water because I can feel my throat just drying up. So I apologize for the sniffling more than usual. Role-playing gamer. Hi, Matt. Glad Sit and Talk is back. That 1 week hiatus sucked. As every Friday I rush downstairs to get breakfast and run back upstairs to my computer and start watching Sit and Talk. Well, thank you. Now I have to warn you that for a couple weeks I won't be doing it. when the baby comes, and probably during the Christmas holidays as well. So, and then the next couple of months, there's going to be a couple times where there's hiatuses. Hiati? What's the plural of hiatus? Hiatuses, or I think it would be hiati. Hiati. There will be a couple of hiati. Anyway, and I have a few questions. One, what do you think about White Dwarf Weekly? I love it personally, but everyone I talk to hates it. I don't mind the White Dwarf, the regular, like the weekly one where you're getting like updates, because it's kind of, I look at it more like a news catalog rather than what it used to be. Well, I don't even it's always been a news thing, but I don't really care about reading the battle reports as much as I used to. I get more of my fill of my hobby just from work, and so it's not as exciting, whereas it used to be, not necessarily because it was different, but because my exposure to the hobby was different. The White Dwarf thingy where it's just the Visions, Warhammer Visions, that thing is totally useless, and I'm glad, and I've heard they're discontinuing at the end of the year, so that's good. 2, have you heard of GW's combat training? Games Workshop's combat training. If you have, I would like you to know if you think it's effective at teaching newcomers the rules of 40k, fantasy, and Lord of the... Oh, is that like what they do with new gamers? Okay, I don't really know anything about that. And not really a question, but I wanted to share one of my early wargaming experiences for my second game of combat training. By the time you read this, I will have gone to my third combat training game. So basically, in my recent combat training, I was fighting Dark Angels and Assassins. I had Eldar and Blood Angels on my team. I was Necrons. What? Oh, maybe you have to like, is it like multiple people playing at the same time? In the entire game, both teams wondered why Blood Angels and Dark Angels were fighting. My explanation which everyone ran with was the Dark Angels and the Blood Angels disagreed on the ethics of allying with Necrons. Love the sit and talks, by the way. Never cancel them. And happy wargaming. Yeah, you can totally make up almost any reason to have something fight something else. Crownblade. Make a Warhammer Fantasy Battle campaign. That is all. Okay. El Histo, or One Histo. Not sure if that's an L or a 1 because they're usually the same. Hey Matt, I was wondering if you're willing to participate in the Movember. Clearly you don't know much about me. If I didn't shave for all of November, you probably still wouldn't see a mustache. In short, this is a movement to public awareness, the man health, in particular the prostate cancer. All you have to do to show your support is let your mustache and beard grow during the month of November. Of course, if your wife has agreed to this. Thank you to be you, and I wanted to say to everybody, if you have the chance to play against Matt, go for it. He is so a gentleman opponent. Keep up the good work. One histo. P.S. Sorry for my English. I speak French at home. C'est pas un problème. Yeah, I probably won't, just because I actually really am not able to grow much facial hair. There's nothing here. I shave every day just because it gets a little dark. But that's about it. Warboss Wazog. Matt, your Tyranid monstrous creatures seem to have concentrated gasoline for blood. Yeah, no kidding. Flamers actually kill them. But there are new monstrous creatures coming out, and I'm excited for those. Magnetruffle. Hey Matt, will you maybe read the Dark Eldar novels? Maybe it gets you into them too. I don't know if I want to read Dark Eldar novels. I don't want to get like a narrative behind the scenes of how they act. So, no promises. Pain TCHK. Paint check. Paint chick. I don't know. Hi Matt, first time posting a question since I've become a Vault member about a month ago, and I don't regret a single penny. You guys are all awesome. Well, thank you. 2 questions. 1, will you guys be doing Kill Team Bat Reps in the future? Yes. No plans, but in the future, there will be Kill Team battle reports. Me and my friends are doing a Kill Team campaign with Inquisition versus Tau versus Eldar versus Chaos Space Marines with a supposed Tyranid threat in the background, and we are having a blast with it. 2, what would you think if Games Workshop brought some monstrous creatures in fantasy or the Monsters Arcanum supplement to 40k? Mostly Chaos or Chaos Demon creatures, because I think a lot of these creatures could fit in the 40k lore and bring a few new things to the table for Chaos. Your thoughts? Well, it would be a good reason for them to sell more models. The only difficulty is that the bases are different. There's square and rectangular bases in fantasy and circular bases in 40k. But yeah, it would be cool if they made a crossover somehow. It would help them to sell more fantasy models, I think, because well, there's a lot of 40k players out there. And then you could use a lot of their monstrous creatures and maybe like summoning kind of thing. Aerith, hey Matt, would you ever consider a Forge World Imperial Knight Titan? If so, which one and why? Yes, I would. I don't know which one though. I've kind of looked at them. They're all kind of weird looking, but I would get used to them, and they probably look really cool on the table. But I've just glanced at them, so I don't really know enough about them to choose which one I would like. And Dustmuller, are you ready for the return of the Tyranid drop pod? Yes, I saw some leaked images of that, and I'm super excited because they found a way around the whole not being able to do the MySet Explorer anymore. Still, I guess that's still just conjecture that they got rid of it because of the chapter house thing, but it just seems very obvious. The new one looks so cool, like just this big floating monstrous creature thing. And I definitely am looking forward to that, and I will definitely buy, I don't know, maybe 6, because I want to have them like all floating around because they look cool. I don't know how good they'll be in the game. I don't care. They look cool. I'm also getting all the new monstrous creatures that just went up for pre-order this week too. Javaman 21011. Hi Matt, first time poster. Been a Vault member for a bit. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Campaigns are awesome. Well, thank you again. My question, are you going to feature Convergence of Cirrus in the War Machine bat reps or campaigns? They're my current War Hordes army, and sadly the net doesn't have many good bat reps with them. I can't promise anything because we don't have a Convergence list here, and so you're kind of at the mercy of which players come in to play War Machine and Hordes with us. And so only if there's somebody who actually has them in the next league will you see them, and I don't know if there is. Garhuk. Greetings from Denmark. No wonder I couldn't say it. Matt and all employees of Mini Wargaming, you are awesome. Well, thank you. Been a new Vault member for a month, and I love it. Awesome to hear. First of all, can you ask Steve what kind of model he will be in Imperial Guard? Because I am making him a Steve Khrushchev to honor his awesomeness in the Storms of Ixia. Steve, what kind of model do you want to be in Imperial Guard? Cook. He wants to be a cook. Second, the zombie Halloween thing was fantastic. The final thing, all I wish for Christmas is a new episode of Shadows in the Warp. Keep up the good work. Well, maybe that can come true. Hertig, Grey Knights campaign. That's all it says. I'm sure we'll have a Grey Knights campaign eventually. We don't have a Grey Knights army in the studio. I think Ash might have one, but we don't have one in the studio, so that's something that we should probably eventually get. Interrogator Chaplain. Hi Matt, I have a Baneblade-sized tank that I have just grown absolutely fatigued trying to base coat and assemble. I want to farm this off to a commission painter, but want to keep my money in Ontario. Who can you recommend in which I can keep my money relatively local? Ontario. There are painters in Ontario, but I haven't worked with any of them on the scale of like the large models like that. Not that I've received yet. There's one painter in particular who's working on something for me that's big, but it hasn't come back yet, so I can't recommend him until I see how he did on a larger model. If you're looking at Canada at the very least, the cold painting table is one I highly recommend. Cody does a great job with vehicles in particular. He's done a lot of bigger stuff for us, and I've been super, super satisfied. So that would be my recommendation, is Cody from Cold Painting Table. He is in Manitoba, not Ontario, but it's still in Canada if you're worried about like supporting local economy and stuff like that. And he's got a good turnaround time too. At least he has been with the stuff we've been doing. Nabarius. Hello, Matt. I wonder if you'd ever consider doing a narrative campaign set in the Eye of Terror. Of course I would. There's tons of stuff. See, here's the thing. There's an unlimited number of settings in the 40K universe. So of course I would consider almost any of them, because there's so many cool things you can do too. You can like have campaigns in the warp. You could have campaigns in the webway. You could have campaigns. You have the whole galaxy. So there's any type of world you can possibly imagine with any type of story that you've ever heard, you can somehow fit into a 40K narrative campaign, because the galaxy is that big and their fluff kind of keeps it wide open that you can almost do anything. And as soon as you think that you can't do something, just read some of the 40K novels and you see just how bizarre they can get, and things that you would think, oh no, 40K would never allow that, and they happen. So, and I think that's really fantastic. It allows for narrative campaigns to be able to have a lot of variety to them. Maybe a little segment of the Abyssal Crusade, something that shows Chaos Marines and Demons as the defenders rather than the attackers. You could use some cool custom rules for being in such a warp-saturated setting. One idea I had was a war planet dominated by Tzeentch, where the terrain has a chance of changing or moving around. That would be kind of fun. Of course, my ideas are basic and uninformed, and I have no consideration for any balancing issues, but it's for a story-focused game, not a tournament. Thanks for the effort, dude. Love your stuff. What I've found with narrative campaigns is is you kind of get the coolness in the narrative, and then in the actual games that you play, you have to kind of be careful with them. If you make them too wacky, then they can get really one-sided really fast. They can get one-sided even if you have just a normal mission. But what I've been finding I've been really enjoying doing is having a really cool story, and then when it comes time for the actual battle, it is kind of more standard than normal. There'd be a couple special rules in it, but other than that, it plays out rather standard. Like there's objectives to grab. Even if there's not objectives, the objectives can kind of show who's controlling the board. And you say, well, do we need First Blood in this? Do we need Linebreaker? Do we need Slay the Warlord? You kind of you see if those make sense. Like in this mission, is it about killing the other Warlord? If it is, yeah, if that would have an impact on the narrative, then yeah, Slay the Warlord's an objective. Does getting to the other side of the table have an impact? Okay, then Linebreaker. Does hitting hard have an impact? Well, then First Blood should be in there. Is it about controlling a certain, is it about capturing something? Well, then make that an objective. Like, it kind of builds itself, and you have to just be careful. And I've seen this happen so many times in our own narrative campaigns where I think, well, narratively it makes sense that all the objectives are on the one side because the one person's coming to him, but then it just becomes so imbalanced that it loses a bit of its fun. So the missions themselves, I try to keep the special rules now to a minimum. Stuff like the terrain moving around, as long as it's random, then that can happen. Like anything can happen there, and that's kind of fun. It's just where you have to kind of be careful what the objectives are and where the special points come in and all that. But yeah, it would be kind of cool to have a Tzeentch planet where everything moved around or changed, like trees became a hill or became a building or something like that. It'd be kind of fun. Pernicious Shark. Hello, Matt. I've been following your guys for a long time and a member of the Vault off and on. Myself and several other viewers, based on comments, have had some issue with the achievements in the War Machine League, mainly people wasting units and feats and turns just for achievements. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on them, and if you were planning on changing things around. If you could make your answer a highlight on the main channel, I think it would ease a lot of viewers' minds. Ash has actually created a video where he's talked about that. Unfortunately, the War Machine League, you're still going to see a few more weeks of it. That's not unfortunately. They're still good, but you're not going to see the change for a few more weeks. We totally agree that some people were just farming achievements and not really making an interesting game. And so that kind of defeated the purpose of the achievements. The whole purpose of the achievements was to try to get variety in our battle reports and encourage different lists and encourage different play styles. But unfortunately, there was the negative aspect of some people just using an entire game to just do weird stuff. And so Ash has worked really hard on that, and he's made a lot of changes for the next league, which we're already on the process of starting, but you won't start seeing that for at least another couple months. And he's got a video that will go up at the end of this league that explains how we're going to change that. But essentially, all the feats, it's going to be that you have to do stuff against your opponent. Another thing that's going to change is how many games you can play and how many points a win is worth. And so what happened in this one is we say only your best 5 games are taken. So as soon as people had won 5 games, then they could just come back in and play and not care if they won. But now that's not going to be the case. Players can play a maximum of 9 games, and every win is worth something. And the later games are actually worth a bit more than the earlier games, just to kind of encourage to get those last few in. And so at no point will a player be playing a game where they don't care about winning, or I guess they could always choose not to care about winning, but they'll always be worth something. And so that was the big issue, is that once people got their 5 wins in, they could come back for extra games, and they didn't care about winning, so they would just farm achievements in the most, sometimes ridiculous ways. But according to the rules, they're War Machine players. They love to find how to break rules, and we created a system that they could break. And so I agree, the achievements did kind of take away from that. At the same time, we've been putting out 4 War Machine battle reports a week, so it's allowed us to create more battle reports than we normally do. So it's kind of been, you know, where people don't like the achievements, but they're still getting all the views, and people are still watching them. And so we're just going to have to hold out a couple more months, and then we'll have the new league, and we'll see how that goes with the new system for the achievements. So, but there will be a specific video that Ash has already created, and it's just got to be scheduled at the end of this league, where he talks about that very issue. So it is being dealt with. B-Shoes-Zik. Hey Matt, with the Scissors of Battle campaign, you've had to say stuff like womaned by instead of manned by, and stuff like that, which reminds me of some of the problems I've had with a D&D campaign I've hosted for the past year, where the world is a matriarchy, which has brought up a lot of the same questions and debates. It makes me want to ask, how well or bad do you think women are represented in 40K in mini wargaming and just gaming in general? Well, women are always kind of misrepresented in games in general, because games in general are men are the majority of the players. I'm not saying that women can't play. I'm just saying that statistically, there's more men playing than women. And so you get problems like all the sexist stuff, like when they are put into games, they're put in as eye candy, whereas when the men are put in, they're more functional. Like you still get the guys put in there too with the huge Arnold Schwarzenegger muscles and disproportionate and all that kind of stuff. But on average, men are they're just men, and with some exceptions. Whereas usually there's a higher percentage of female models that just become, you know, they're just there for the viewing pleasure kind of thing. The Sisters of Battle I find are usually a good exception, except for like the Repentia and all that, because they're just, you know, don't like those models. But they're just kind of, they're fully clothed, they're not out of proportion, and they're strong, and they're faithful to the Emperor, and they have a good purpose, and so those ones are impressive compared to everything else that we've seen in gaming in general. As for the whole thing like man and woman, like that's more a joke. Like a woman can man something, because you think the word man is often used as a generic reference as well, and that's not sexist. That's just, you know, mankind, for example, it's not sexist to say mankind to represent everybody. That's just what it is. And it's so saying something that somebody mans it, like somebody else has suggested, you could say, well, it's been crewed by or piloted by. So yeah, there's other ways to say it that are gender neutral altogether. But it was more just kind of a joke, being like, how do you say this? It's manned by, or it's a 5-woman crew, or that kind of stuff. So it's interesting because it's the first time it's really come up, because in 40K there's really no other female models except the Sisters of Battle. There's the occasional one sprinkled throughout, but it's really just men. And which is funny because even in today's military, there's a good number of women in it. So it's funny that we have like this 40,000 years in the future, the military is all men. Now it's funny because I just read a book, the first Caiaphas Cain novel for the Emperor actually dealt with this, where there was an all-woman regiment and an all-men regiment, but they got consolidated together because they both had suffered losses, and it was all about the integration of the two of them. And it's interesting because, of course, we're still dealing with those issues today, and so it's going to show up in our literature. Even though hopefully in 40,000 years that wouldn't be an issue, but maybe it would be. Who knows? Who knows what the future would look like? But yeah, they're definitely misrepresented in gaming in general, and in media in general, to be honest, not just gaming. Big Blue Ultra. By the way, congratulations on your little girl, Matt. Well, thank you. We don't have her yet, but I guess you can still say congratulations when you get pregnant, right? Bilbo the Monkey. Hey Matt, I tried to ask this in a previous sit and talk, but I worded it poorly, so I'll try again. Can you guys make a list of the narrative campaigns in order? I'm trying to watch through them in the order they were made. I just finished Cruz Azul's New Wheels, and I can't remember which one came next. It's a small thing, but it bothers my OCD tendencies to jump around the storylines. Until we do that, because we do plan on doing a bit of redesign, what you can do is you can go into the main Mini Wargaming site, click on Shows at the top, and then click on View All Shows, and then click on the one section of Battle Reports. Click that. And that has all the Battle Report shows, which have the narrative campaigns in them. And they're listed from most recent to oldest. So find Cruz Azul's Wheels and then work your way back until you hit the next campaign, which I think, I actually don't know off the top of my head which one's the next one after that one. Bloodshot VX. Hi Matt, just watched the Mini War Gaming, and the bat rep of Ash and Steve Space Wolves versus High Owls need to be a thing. Needs to be a thing, that is all. Keep up the good work because it makes life fun for us. Mini Wargaming for life. Yes, the Mini Wargaming was funny. Especially watching them try to play 40K versus fantasy, which I think should be a thing. Sir William the Bold. What do you think about the NIDS getting drop pods? Already answered that. I am very excited about that. UK's Deadhead. Hi Matt, please do more of the zombie game you did for Halloween special. It was awesome, great to watch. Vault member for life, also you're awesome, and thanks for all the work you and Mini Wargaming crew put into your awesome vids. Thank you. Lots of awesomes in there. Yeah, I don't think we'll be doing that one again. Not because it wasn't fun, but because it was just a one-off thing. Maybe we'll do it next Halloween. Ross the Boss 88. Matt, what are your currently most popular shows? What is the ranking of the different games and video series? Specifically, how has Warhammer Fantasy fared up to this point? Thanks for all the videos. Well, by far the narrative campaigns are the most popular. I can say that. Game-wise, 40K is the most popular. Fantasy being definitely the second to that. And then War Machine after that, and then Infinity after all of those. The fantasy, as soon as Ash started doing those again, they brought back, they got right back up to the popularity that they used to have on our channel, which was above War Machine. So I'm curious to actually know in the marketplace which one sells more, fantasy or War Machine. I know there's been reports that there's some companies have put out that say War Machine is up above fantasy, but the problem is they don't actually have good empirical evidence. That those reports were made by talking to stores and distributors and all of that. And so while it might be semi-accurate, it might not be totally accurate. So we don't, and because only Games Workshop has a public company, we have no real way of comparing it. And you might think, well, my area, nobody plays fantasy. But that's totally anecdotal. You can have another area that nobody plays War Machine and all play fantasy. And that does happen. So I just don't know. All I know is that currently fantasy battle reports get more views than our War Machine ones do. And you might think, well, that's because of the War Machine League and the achievement thing, but it's always been that way. That's not a new thing. So maybe it's because of the crowd. It could be the demographic that fantasy players watch more battle reports than War Machine players. It could be that we've built that up longer than War Machine. There's a lot of things, and you can't ever really know. All I know is that they get good views and they get good vault signups, and so that makes them worth to do. Electric Andy. Matt, is the Imperial Guard Army going to get some wyverns? I would love to see some of those in action. I just used them in the narrative campaign. I'm not going to tell you anything about how they did because I don't want to spoil anything. Just watch the narrative campaign. Mission 4A, so that'll be the one coming out next week, features them. Egg Banjo. Hi Matt, wondering what you would like from the new Necron Codex. I talked about that last week. I really have no preferences. Just whatever. Just make it interesting. A lot of people, and I talked about that last week, a lot of people ask me, what do you want in the next Codex? And honestly, I don't. I don't really think about it that much. They just give me stuff and I play with it, and it's a lot of fun. Laura Cakes. Hi Matt, thanks for addressing my comment last week. I have some questions for you about pen and paper role-playing games and miniatures. I just recently picked up Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, 1st edition again, and been having a blast with it, and introducing some younger relatives to it as well. I know this might have been asked before, but have you been into role-playing games? And if so, did you use miniatures? I was huge into role-playing games growing up. We didn't use miniatures, though. I have played role-playing games as miniatures because we played D&D 4th edition for a while. And I know 4th edition might not be the best comparison to talk about using miniatures, but it was my only experience. And I have to say that I preferred, from my experiences, not using miniatures. I just find that role-playing games are more fun if you can kind of keep it to the narrative rather than keeping it to this tactical miniatures game, which 4th edition really is how it plays. It doesn't play so much as a role-playing game as a tactical miniature war game. A really good and well-balanced one, but in the end it kind of stifles a bit of the role-playing. I played, the very first role-playing game that I played was Advanced Fighting Fantasy, actually created by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone, the creators of Games Workshop. And that was a lot of fun. It was a very, very basic game, but that actually is kind of what made it so fun, is because you could just, I didn't realize this at the time, because I kind of looked at D&D and thought it was cool to have all those extra stats and all of that. But in the end, the Advanced Fighting Fantasy was very basic, but that allowed you to kind of focus on the narrative and the role-playing. Also played Mech Warrior. That was the Battletech's RPG, and that was a lot of fun. Also, somewhat simple, is more complex than Advanced Fighting Fantasy by a long shot, but simpler than games like D&D. And we really liked that one too. And we played D&D 4th edition, and we also played some homebrewed ones that I created. And yeah, I love role-playing. Haven't done it a lot recently because with little kids and all that, we just don't have the time for it. But I hope to pick it up again once my kids are older, hopefully involving them. We do, and okay, so continuing, we do, and it certainly helps enhance the strategic level of the game. And now some of us in the group, including myself, are now on the lookout for new miniatures that better portray everyone's view of their respective characters. Is there any range of miniatures or that you would recommend? Well, I know when we were using D&D, Reaper, of course, was a good one to go to because that's kind of what they do. There's actually, but since then, I'm sure there's tons of other ones out there that have created things that are for role-playing. It's just that I haven't looked at that for a while. But it was Reaper miniatures that we were looking at before because they had a huge line of all sorts of stuff. Vault member for life. P.S. The Guard Infestation is awesome. Hands down, one of your best narrative campaigns so far. Well, thank you. And in all humility, I agree that it's the best one we've done so far. I think Storms of Ixia was my favorite, and this one is now my favorite, and it's only getting better as we continue playing. So I don't know if that's because I've gotten better at doing the narrative, or it's just because Leland is so much fun to play against, or because the story has just turned out the way it has, but it's been a lot of fun. Jubble, you guys make great bat reps, and now I rarely miss one, especially the campaigns, which are fantastic. Thank you. You are also obviously tight on time with designing campaigns, filming bat reps, and running the business. Have you thought about filming the battles through non-stop and getting someone else to edit them down afterwards? That would save you time personally, giving you more availability to grow the business and further improve the quality of videos. It wouldn't actually save us that much time. Probably, you know what, our filming of the battle reports doesn't take that much time in comparison to just playing a battle report. Like, it does add time, because you have to be like, hold on, don't roll your dice yet. Okay, now go ahead. Also, the amount of time it would take to edit, because you'd have to have multiple cameras in order to be able to capture what we do. Because a huge advantage in hand-holding for battle reports is that you can get all sorts of perspectives really, really easily. So if you're not going to do that, you're going to need 3 cameras minimum, probably 4, because you want one for the dice box, and then one for each angle, and then one overhead, which is cool, but you can still miss out on a lot of the good close-ups. And then you have to have somebody edit that. It would just be a ridiculous amount of time. So in the end, it wouldn't save us time. It would cost us an immense amount of time. So the way we do it actually is the most time-efficient way of doing battle reports. Pirate Monkey. I like the idea from the last sit and talk after a bat rep, or maybe in between, since you do 2 of them. Take 5 or 10 minutes to talk about the models, how they are painted or converted, just a few models. It doesn't have to take too long. Thanks for all the great content. Happy wargaming. And I like that idea, but once again, it comes down to the time. Like, yesterday is a really good example. Leland came in to film for our narrative campaign, and I thought we were only going to be able to get 1 game done because it was 2,000 points, and it was a lot of models. It was Imperial Guard and Sisters of Battle with Imperial Guard allies, and it was a lot of infantry, not as many vehicles. And so I thought that would take a long time, which they typically do. But the game went relatively quickly, and so we were able to play a second game. But even with how quickly it went, we still got done like at 4:30, and he had to leave shortly after that. So there wasn't in-between time. The in-between time was lunch and prepping for the next game. So even though he came in at 9 o'clock, and the first game went quickly, and the second game was only 1,000 points, it filled the day. And there wasn't that 5 or 10 minutes to really take to do that, and because then that would have put us over time. So it's hard because we want to do extra stuff like that, but we also need to make sure we get the battle reports done. Robbie King 123. Hi Matt. Do you watch action movies just for the action? Of course. Like the Transformers? No, not like the Transformers. I will never watch that one just for the action because it's awful. It's not even good action. It's just a bunch of mishmash of robots, and you can't even tell what's going on until somebody's dead or somebody's won. And the Expendables. Haven't seen the Expendables. A little too violent for my taste. I know that those kind of movies do not always have the best storytelling and things like that, but they sometimes have very good jokes and action. Your opinion? Oh yeah, I love action movies, and I like them for the action. Like I enjoyed Pacific Rim, big robots fighting big monsters. I actually wish they would just talk less. If they could just cut out all the parts where there was trying to make a story, and then just add more parts of them fighting robots or robots fighting monsters, I would have enjoyed the movie even more. Because it was just bad acting, bad story, but awesome, cool action of robots killing monsters. So yeah, I totally watch action movies just for the action. Demon 666. Matt, you haven't done a Grey Knights campaign. Think you'll ever get around to doing one? I already answered that, Demon 666. Wilhelm Screamer. So, since you are plugging Kevin MacLeod, can we expect a bit more diversity in music from him? He does cover a pretty wide range of music, and mixing it up for your videos would be nice. I don't know what you can expect. We don't just use Kevin MacLeod's music. We have some stuff that people have made for us and some other areas that we've purchased as well. I wonder how his campaign's doing. I hope it reaches its goal. It didn't look like it was like rapidly going to that goal, and so I hope it gets there. Kees de Kirstman. Hi Matt, love the narrative campaigns. Thank you. Just had one question. I am deciding which Eldar I want. Dark Eldar or regular Eldar? Would love to hear your opinion. Clearly you have not been watching the show for very long. I hate Dark Eldar. I hate them. Hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them. Model-wise, they're okay, but their fluff is just so horrendously bad. It's too dark, even for 40k. Definitely, if I had to choose, it would be Eldar. Zetro0. Hello, Matt. Thank you for sharing your week and thoughts with us. There are many of us that really enjoy that inclusion. Well, thank you. I have been a Vault member for a little time now, and I have seen you and your team's efforts go from strength to strength. The narrative campaigns really are a delight, and have made me want to collect both Imperial Guard and Necrons, even though I have very little interest in either race before. I know, right? Imperial Guard, they seem like so boring. And then you see them in a story, and it's like, wow, these guys can actually be really interesting. That's what I found. These truly are a delight, and I cannot stop watching them. The Sisters of Battle campaign is amazing with his own Mortalis battles. It really adds a foreboding tension to each player. A true delight. I would like to see more terrain making videos, perhaps some revisits to older projects, perhaps some more interesting techniques of modeling in general. Sorry. But also love to see some board games like Talisman. Yes, I mentioned this before, but I know you would like it. And not to mention the game Relic, which arguably is Talisman, but set in the 40k setting. Yeah, I've talked about board games before. It's just not something that we're going to be covering anytime soon. It's just, board games are popular, but the market is not nearly as affluent as miniature wargaming. Like somebody who's into 40k is spending a lot of money. And so when we're like, hey, 40k battle reports, now go and sign up for the Vault for $3 a month, that's like pocket change for somebody who's buying 40k miniatures. But board games, these people are more casual, and so asking them to sign up for a Vault membership is not going to work nearly as well. Now, mind you, it's a larger market, so maybe that would make up for it. And one day, we might actually foray into that market. But right now, our strength is wargaming, and so that's where we're going to stick. Perhaps an idea, if your scheduling permits, which probably doesn't, perhaps an old bygone game of something like Battletech, Necromunda, or Dark Future, if anyone remembers that. You never know, we might do like specials here and there, but it can't be part of our regular content because we're so busy just filling the schedule that we have and making sure we maintain the level that you've come to expect in a number of battle reports that we're putting up for each of the games. Whatever you guys do, I know that I will enjoy the content you create. All the best, Z. Well, thank you. Tali Temla. Hey there, I just wanted to tell you that I love what you do. Besides that, I was really expecting a mummy wargaming joke. Well, thank you. Sorry I didn't give you a mummy wargaming joke. Dynamics. Great to have you back, Matt. How about a Space Wolves versus Tau campaign? Nothing fuels a narrative like an aggravated Dave. Well, like I said, I'm thinking of doing Tau. It won't be with Dave, though, because we just find it works better when we do them separately because it allows us to both work on projects at the same time and get twice as much stuff done. Big Blue Ultra. If anything, I pictured God as a 10th dimensional being, being able to exist and perceive all dimensions and all possibilities. Therefore, existing in a dimension where God exists in God's entirety, using the mathematics and theoretical probability of creation, could create an infinite amount of dimensions with an infinite degree of existence. With that being said, at least one of these dimensions would consist of nothing but the entirety of God, and at least one where God does not exist at all. One cannot exist without the other, or the math is flawed and the system falls apart. Perhaps we are the dimension where God doesn't exist at all, an experiment in free will in a what-if scenario of what would happen if beings could exist without the direct intervention of their creator. I guess I think of string theory that way because I believe God's personality is a mix of the ultimate scientist and the ultimate comedian. I do like that line. Both professions would need unlimited realities to stop from being bored and to grow, infinite experiments and infinite material from trivial paradoxes. And since God is the creator of a big fan of evolution, growth is important. I bet there's a dimension entirely dedicated as a filing system for all the other dimensions. Anyway, that's from a non-religious deist point of view. Very interesting philosophy there. And as much as obviously it's not like my belief system there, it is kind of fun to think about the things like that and be like, how would it fit? And how could it fit? Rather than just being like, oh, it doesn't fit, or yeah, it definitely does fit. And trying to figure it out, even if you have to admit, of course, that you're totally just working in beyond even scientific theory. You're just going to to weird places in your mind. But it is fun to think about that way every once in a while. Okay. Miso. Matt, didn't James Cameron grow up in your area? I don't think so. Did he really? Yep. In Chippewa, yeah? Huh. Did you go to the same school as him? I'm not that old. James Cameron is way older than me, isn't he? How old is James Cameron?
Old.
He's got to be old.
He's old.
He made Titanic when I was still in high school. Shame on him. Did you go to the same school as him? Maybe. I don't know. But the schools I went to, that's not where he lived. And are you a James Cameron fan? No, I'm not a James Cameron fan. That doesn't mean I don't like his stuff. Obviously, Titanic, well, whatever. But Avatar was a good movie. That was a good movie. What else has he done? Has he done other stuff?
Terminators.
Terminators?
True Lies.
True Lies. That was a funny movie. What else? Terminator movies were interesting. They were
Aliens.
Aliens. I haven't really seen those movies. I know. Whoa, what's wrong with you, right?
You're gonna have a busy weekend.
Yeah, like I know enough about them. I've seen so many clips and heard so many things about them. It's kind of one of those. They're such classics that you kind of know them without having seen them. And you recognize the pop culture references to them. So no, I don't know. I don't know much about James Cameron. Hamusa. From last week's question on best monstrous creatures, I say demon princes because A, I am a demon player, and B, they are so versatile when you in their options. Vault member for life. I know somebody else. Oh, here it is. I'll get to his comment because we still have time. Crownblade, you stated in one of your earlier sit and talks that you would like rules for smaller battles in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Now, they might be old, but have you tried the Border Patrol rules? I think I did see those years ago. Haven't tried them, though. Also, have you heard the Warhammer Fantasy Battle rumors that 2 armies will be dropped or merged with another army during the end times? I have not. I don't really follow the rumors for fantasy, so sorry about that. Smerryman76. Hey, Matt. How awesome was Chris's impersonation of you? That was great. I don't even know if I could impersonate him impersonating me very well. Oh, I'm Matt. I'm doing my Satan talk. Oh. Apparently that's what I sound like. Yeah. Sucrum39. I really have to disagree with you on the best monstrous creature in the game. Sure, the Demon Codex Nurgle Demon Prince is very good with 2+ Jink and access to a Poison 4 instant death weapon. But Demon Princes are ridiculously expensive given that they have toughness 5. Now, the truly best monstrous creature, in my opinion, is the Wraith Knight. Weapon skill 5, initiative 5, make it almost as good as all infantry HQs, and that's not taking into account its strength 10, toughness 8, and 6 wounds. It's also cheaper than most Demon Princes, has good mobility, and access to some amazing weapons as well. This is just my opinion, though, and as a player that has to face Wraith Knights and Riptides in almost every battle, I might be a bit biased against them. Wraith Knights are definitely really good, don't get me wrong. The reason I kind of categorize Demon Princes as what I think to be the best is because of their versatility. Maybe on a one-on-one battle there might be things that can beat them, but the fact that you have so many options with them is kind of what I think makes them really awesome. I'm not a big fan of playing against them for that reason, unless I have a bunch of Hormagaunts with poison, and then I'll take them any day. And paroxysm too. The old paroxysm was awesome. Your weapon skill is now 1, and I'm going to surround you by a bunch of Hormagaunts with poison. I played an Apocalypse game against John back when that was the paroxysm rule, and there was no denying it because it wasn't the psychic the way it is now. And he had, I think it was Angron, who was a gargantuan, and back then it didn't have rules against this working, and he had like 6 bloodthirsters in a unit with him, and it was so awesome. Felt so good, I must admit. Hive Tyrant nearby, cast Paroxysm on the group, made them all weapon skill and ballistic skill 1, and then I charged them with 40 Hormagaunts, all with poison, and killed them all. Oh, the feeling I had was utter euphoria. Because you have to understand how much I hate Demon Princes as monstrous creatures, because they always have the perfect answer to my Tyranids. And so just watching them just fall to Hormagaunts just made me so happy. And Angron, like, he's got a ton of attacks. He's normally weapon skill like 10, and now you're weapon skill 1. And the paroxysm isn't as good anymore. It gives them minus D3 to their weapon skill and ballistic skill, and so if something has a high weapon skill, it's not going to get down low enough. And it's good that they modified it because it was a little overpowered. Okay, Keskoron, hi Matt, any plans to get the new Forge World Dimakaron model for your Tyranids? Yes, I have one being painted right now. Really enjoying the Utgard Infestation 2. It has a different feel to it than the other narrative campaigns, probably because of the Zone Mortalis boards. Well, thank you. Narakuda. Hey, Matt. Great to hear that you had fun at Valhalla. The pictures you guys posted were great. Congratulations on your baby girl. So happy for you. Thank you. Warblade 9000. What do you think about the new Tyranid models, Malceptor, Toxicrene, Vault Member for Life? I think they look cool. I haven't really read their rules very much because I just don't care about reading the rules. I care about more of the pictures. And when they come in, then I'll read their rules and see how they play. Because I found that math hammering, like looking at the model, looking at its points and being like, that doesn't look very good, or that looks really good, usually doesn't give you an accurate representation of how the model actually does in the game until you actually play with it. And so they look cool. Their fluff seems cool, and that's all that matters to me. I have to admit, though, I am more excited for the floating drop pod monstrous creatures. What are those called? They start with a T. I can't remember now. Rezael. Hi again, Matt. I hope my comment sneaks into your sit and talks this week because it has occurred to me a little bit late to ask this question. Well, it has. I was shopping around for my future Tyranid needs, and of course, we all have wish lists for models, and especially when it comes to Forge World. What I'd like to know is, what is your opinion on the value of having a Hierophant versus something like the Hero Duel models when you're a limited resource collector? I would say the Hero Duels are a better investment. The Hierophant is just too expensive. If you're talking about money, I think this works money, if whether we're talking about money or points. The Hierophant is not worth 1,000 points. It just is nowhere near worth 1,000 points. It just isn't. It's not survivable compared to other Gargantuans. It doesn't have the firepower or the hitting power of other Gargantuans. You bring it because it's cool, and it's a cool addition to your army. So if you're looking more for something that's good points-wise, the Hero Duels are better. Both the Barbed and the Scythe Hero Duel are good. The Barbed Hero Duel is good. It just sits back and just spits out a lot of strength 10 shots, and it's not that many points, comparatively speaking. Scythe Hero Duel is awesome because it moves forward 12 inches and then drops down that the huge flavor template of the acid that just eats through. It's AP3, strength 6 AP3. It's just awesome. So those two are great. So I'd recommend those before the Hierophant. I asked that way because it's unlikely I could afford all three options in a short period, and I like to focus on the most useful choice of the current Tyranid Codex first. Thanks. Well, the Barbed Hero Duel definitely fills the role of tank hunter from a distance, whereas the Tyranids don't have that really well. And so the Scythe Hero Duel is more just fun, but because it runs up and it drops down the big Hellstorm template. So, but I think if I had to choose one, I'd choose the Barbed Hero Duel because it just kind of, it's nice. It sits back and then lays down a lot of fire. So it doesn't typically get into combat, which doesn't expose its weaknesses because it's not actually that good in combat. It's got a high toughness, a bunch of wounds, I think it's a 3+ save, but it doesn't have an invulnerable save. I think it actually only has 6 wounds. So like most of the Tyranid monsters creatures have that many wounds. It is a Gargantuan, so it gets to do stuff like stomping and all of that, so that helps against a bunch of little guys. TJ Duty. Hi Matt, having watched the mini wargaming video, I am now totally convinced that you need to adopt "We play and call it work" as your slogan. At the very least, you should have a sit and talk t-shirt made for it. I laughed so hard watching the reaction video. You guys make me happy. You know, I probably should. We work so you can play. I think it's almost time for a rebranding. We work, or we play and call it work. It almost works better. It's a nice shout out to our old slogan, "We work so you can play," but it's a little more apt. We play so you can work. Now, in all honesty, there is actually a lot of work behind the scenes. Even when it looks like we're having fun. For every minute you see us having fun, there's probably a couple minutes of hard work associated with that. Because there's a lot of organization and stuff to have to do. But I do like that. We play and call it work as our slogan. Twinner. Hey Matt, I understand if you don't want to answer, but I love debates. I'm not trying to be a troll. Man, lots of hedging here before you get to your question. But wanted to ask this honest question. Is it possible to become a Mormon by just reading the Bible? I would say, of course, anybody can become. You can not read the Bible and say, yeah, I'll become a Mormon. So yes, but I know what you're asking. You're asking more to be convinced of the Mormon ideologies. And the answer to the question, I would say that it would be a no, because it's the religion is based a lot around, well, it's based on Jesus Christ. But the Book of Mormon is the keystone to that religion. That's what Joseph Smith has said, and it's the keystone because it's what kind of proves everything. It's what is the evidence of everything that the church claims. And everybody's got the Bible, and there's tons of churches created from the same Bible. And so to say that you'd be convinced of it just from that, well, why hasn't the rest of the world then just from that? So the Book of Mormon really does add on to that. It gives the evidence of the claims of the church, I guess you could say. So I'd say no. Obviously, yes, anybody can, but I know what you're asking, and I would say no. Twisted Bishop. Matt, you've spoken before about wanting to create a consistent pattern to video releases. Would you consider posting a schedule showing viewers what days of the week or month to expect specific game coverage? Yes, that is on our list of things to do because I want to redesign the navigation of our website, and part of that would be posting a schedule to it as well. Oh, Okay, one more question, and then I'm out of time. Captain Obvious. Matt, you've mentioned how you are now a few months ahead of schedule. I wouldn't go as far as to say that. In certain areas, we are ahead of schedule. In certain other areas, like the narrative campaigns, I just filmed next week's yesterday. And so those ones were just kind of staying on top of it. But other things like 40K battle reports, we've got the next month and a half already out. Quick tips, we're usually a few weeks in advance. The War Machine League, we're a month or two in advance. So, but I wouldn't say we're a few months ahead on all of our stuff. It's just in certain areas. We kind of do things in spurts. We'll do like a bunch of these, get those stacked up, and then we'll do something else. What I mean is you have enough videos to keep you going for the next few months if you stop making some now. So I think I clarified that. Don't you think this would be a good time for Dave to get some more Captain Slaughter done? I'm sure it will bring plenty of popularity and many vault signups if some go into the vault. I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just going to go wink, maybe, you know, just going to have to wait. Patience. That's all I'm going to say. I think at this point, if you are ahead and you have the chance to make something else, something we have always been asking for. I agree, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching the Sit and Talk. Stay tuned for more. Leave your comments and questions below, unless you're watching on YouTube. We still like you if you're watching this on YouTube. Just don't leave a comment there and expect it to be answered next week. Click the link in the video description and go leave it on our site. Thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.